What is up, YouTube? It's Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. This video is all about Darth Vader and some cool stuff from Rogue One that has implications for the Sith Lord in all other forms of media, including A New Hope. But first, I wanted to address the passing of Carrie Fisher and the passing of her mother. Very, very bizarre stuff. I found out about it. I was at the day job, just came back from a vacation where I was hanging out with family for several days. It was very, very enjoyable. And I watched Rogue One with my family and just kind of, reveled in Star Wars. It's a new tradition for the past 2 years now. I go up to Boston and watch Star Wars with my family. It's very, very cool. We had a really, really good conversation after the film. A lot of stuff gets spurred. I'm kind of the intermediary. I get to explain a lot of things to them, much like I do on the channel. And it's very, very enjoyable. But when Carrie passed and when I found out that she passed, it's so bizarre. When I was driving to Boston is when she had her massive heart attack. And it really shocked me. It was really crazy. And I was just... in my mind, I'm thinking, well, she'll be okay. People got to her quickly, she'll be okay and all this stuff. And then we heard that she was in stable condition over the weekend. And it kind of drifted from my mind. I was like, okay, close call, 2016, don't you do it sort of thing. And then when I found out she passed, it did affect me. And I really didn't expect to be saddened by it. I practice Zen Buddhism a lot and I have a very Zen mentality about things. And for whatever reason, it really did affect me, and I was kind of meditating on that and, just trying to figure that out. And one of the cool things that I heard John Campea said, and if you haven't seen his address about remembering Carrie Fisher, beautiful video. Go check that out. John, as always, very eloquent and, in the things that he says, but I'll paraphrase what he said. He basically was talking about how much time he had spent with Carrie Fisher because of his love for Star Wars and watching it over and over again, and that he had spent more time with Carrie in that way than some of his family and some of the people that he was really close to. And he had all these, experiences with Carrie through Star Wars. And I thought it was very poignant the way he put it. And, it's just such a sad passing, and it really did affect me. He quoted Yoda from Revenge of the Sith, and I'm going to put that quote right here for you guys to check out. I think it's pretty cool, and that's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's of course tragic, but I think Yoda says it best as to what we should try to do when considering a loss like this. So here we go.
Death is a natural part of life. Rejoice for those around you who transform into the Force. Mourn them, do not. Miss them, do not.
Wise words from the Jedi Master. But that's all I wanted to say about that. But I did want to address it. I talked about it on Snapchat a little bit, but I wanted to address it here as well. So that's that. Now, let's get into this Vader talk, man. And for all of you comic book fans, which you guys probably, if you're not Star Wars fans, aren't watching this video, but we are going to get back to normal Den of Nerds stuff. I have a lot of stuff planned for next year and a lot of cool stuff. But, it's that lull period between, the holiday season. And, things are just stagnant in the news right now, and I can't stop thinking about Star Wars. So we will get back to normal nerdy stuff all around coming up very soon. But one of the coolest things from Rogue One was how it expanded upon the character of Darth Vader. They made a lot of changes from old canon or legends and brought in some new stuff that's really, really fascinating. So let's start with the castle. Obviously, the castle itself being on Mustafar, which has been confirmed by Pablo Hidalgo on Twitter and in the Art of Rogue One book that came out. Great books. I love those books, by the way. The one for The Force Awakens, amazing, well put together. Pablo Hidalgo actually puts together the one for Rogue One, which I thought was really cool. Both brilliant books, but they pretty much confirm that this is on Mustafar. They say in the visual dictionary that this is a place so uninhabitable and so uncomfortable for most people, but it is actually the only place in the galaxy that Vader actually feels at ease and comfort, which is strange. But I guess if you think about it, it's the one place that he could be more or less protected, because it's so intimidating and hostile that people really probably wouldn't come there to look for him. It also could be a secret. Apparently in the novelization, that servant that bows before him and explains that Krennic is there tells Krennic what an honor it is to be able to visit Vader at the castle and to speak to no one about it. No one at all. So, you know, very, very cool stuff. I thought that that was amazing. It's implied that there are a lot of Sith artifacts there, possibly even Jedi artifacts there. It's also implied that we may see that castle again. The predominant theory in the community is that Kylo Ren will find, or already has found and has access to, Vader's castle, where he learned from Vader, maybe directly through knowledge saved in holocrons, or, you know, holograms or what not. Very, very cool. It would be awesome to see Kylo Ren use the castle as a base as we move forward in the saga films. That would be very, very cool. Also, the Bacta tank. Him being in the Bacta tank is a very big deal for a couple of different reasons. In Legends, it was said that because they really hastily put together the armor in order to save his life on Coruscant, that Vader could never ever leave the armor, that he was forever trapped in that armor and couldn't escape it for fear of dying. And that sentiment is kind of reflected in the Return of the Jedi when he wants to take his mask off, but Luke says that he will die, and Vader of course says, nothing can stop that now. For once I want to look upon you with my own eyes, you know, father-son stuff. But what this means, you know, with Vader being able to be completely without his suit, his organic body, you know, which is basically just his torso and his head, it shows that Vader can be outside of his armor. It also kind of makes me think that there is a possible explanation written in subtextually as far as why Vader is less able to fight at the end of A New Hope when he faces off with his old master. Now here we go. I gotta kind of explain this and go deep into this, but not only would it imply that after healing in Bacta and then going back into his armor, that he would be more able-bodied, right? Able to fight and move more efficiently, but the space between his Bacta baths, and, you know, if they're longer, I think he would be literally less able to use his robotic limbs. There's all these different things from canon where he would snag and be in incredible pain and his limbs and stuff. It would take him a long time to figure that out. The environment within the suit is probably not super conducive to organic life living, which is probably why he goes into Bacta. But this is basically what I'm saying, guys. If right fresh from his Bacta bath and then going into the Star Destroyer and boarding that ship, and he's able to kind of mess those guys up pretty methodically, that's pretty much fresh Vader, right? He's pretty much fresh out of the Bacta bath. He's ready to go. He's feeling good and very powerful. Now, if we assume that Vader did not go back to his castle at all from the moments of that we see him in there in Rogue One and to the end of A New Hope, which is pretty likely. I mean, if you think about it, that timeline's pretty tight. I don't know if he'd have time to go back and bathe and then, you know, come back to the Death Star. We can just assume, right, that his body has started to deteriorate. He's basically just further and further away from his prime, right? From prime Vader. The more time he spends outside of the bath, the more he's a little clankier and he can't move as quickly. Also, very important to understand, when Vader is in Bacta, he stares out at the exact place where Obi-Wan defeated him and cut off his limbs, left him for dead, and made him Vader. He bathes in Bacta, but he also bathes in that pain. And he's constantly thinking about that moment, that hatred, that anger, and the lessons from that battle have a huge implication as to how he fights at the end of A New Hope. He's more conservative, right? He's afraid of being over-aggressive and having Obi-Wan literally do the exact same thing. And so I think that there could be a subtextual reason written in to Rogue One as far as why Vader is a little clankier in A New Hope. I think it has to do with him, A, having a pretty long distance from his Bacta bath, and B, being hyper aware, constantly aware of why he lost to Obi-Wan in the first place, and being having that in his mind as they fought. So I think that that's kind of a cool little explanation as far as why Vader would be a little clankier in A New Hope. Kind of cool. Let me know in the comment section about that. Like, what do you think about that? Is that a viable theory? Do you think that that makes sense, or do you disagree and you think that that's one of the drawbacks? Because here's the thing: if Rogue One did a great job, which it did, of explaining why a single shot to this little like fuel reactor thing, exhaust port, blows up an entire, you know, planet-size battle station, which, you know, it did, then I think that it also could be doing just as good of a job of explaining why this incredibly strong Sith Lord was kind of clankier in a battle versus a very old man at the end of A New Hope. Which is kind of cool. But that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about, guys. I just wanted to kind of make some connections to Vader and, you know, the rest of canon and things like that. Like, if you're watching Rebels, right, you've seen Vader show up at Jedi temples. He gets artifacts, whether they be Jedi holocrons, pieces of this and that. The Emperor got that tree. So they're constantly going out and getting things that have dark side power. I believe Vader was storing a lot of that at his castle. It would be super cool to see Kylo Ren get that and have that as our arsenal for his power, right? Super cool stuff. And like I said, I think that they kind of explain why Vader's a little clankier. So that's pretty much all I had for this video. Let's check that nerd card really quickly. The question is about that hooded servant that tells Vader that Krennic has arrived. He has a name, is actually one of the advisors to the Emperor. You see him in some of the original trilogy. And the question is, what is that guy's name? Answer that question in the comment section below. Oh, and really quickly, if you're still with me and you're a Star Wars and comic book fan, I'm working on a cool video. It's going to be a two-parter with Comic Uno. I'm super pumped about it. We are going to talk about our Mount Rushmore of comics, right? The 4 people that we would put up at a Mount Rushmore of comics. And if you want to tell me what your 4 would be, hit me up on the Den of Nerds Snapchat. Send me a short little video explaining that, and I will put your video in one of the videos that Comic Uno and I do. I think that's going to be kind of cool. So check that out, all right? As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day. See ya!